The ocean doesn't give up its secrets easily. For 12 years, it kept hers. In the spring of 1985, in Los Angeles, California, a 32-year-old mother of two kissed her children goodbye. It was an ordinary morning. School lunches packed, beds half made, coffee still warm in the kitchen. There were no signs of struggle, no forced entry, no note left behind, just silence. By nightfall, she was gone. Her purse was still inside the house. Her car sat in the driveway. Her children waited by the window. And as the hours turned into days, the questions began. Did she run away? Was she taken? Or did something far darker happen behind closed doors? Police searched the neighborhood. They searched the woods. They searched the coastline. Nothing. No footprints, no witnesses. No body. Just a mother who vanished without a trace. Years passed. Her children grew up with birthdays marked not by celebration, but by absence. Every phone call after midnight sparked hope. Every unidentified body found in nearby counties sent waves of fear through the family. But the ocean remained quiet. 12 long years. Until one morning in 1997, a man walking along the seafront noticed something unusual in the sand. At first, he thought it was driftwood. It wasn't. What authorities uncovered that day would reopen a mystery that had haunted a town for over a decade. Dental records confirmed it. It was her. The mother who disappeared in 1985 had been found at the edge of the sea. But here's the part that still chills investigators to this day. No one can explain how she got there. Was she there all along? Was she placed there years later? Or was her disappearance only the beginning of a much darker story? Tonight, we unravel the mystery of the mother of two who vanished without warning and was found 12 years later at the seafront. Before she became a headline, before she became a mystery, she was simply a mother. Her name was Mary Ann Townsend. She was born in the early 1950s, in a quiet working-class neighborhood where everyone knew each other's last names. The kind of place where bicycles were left on front lawns and dinner was served at the same time every evening. As a child, she was described as thoughtful, observant, the quiet one in the room, not shy, but careful with her words. Her younger sister once said, "She wasn't the loudest person, but when she spoke, you listened." She loved the ocean, even then. Family trips to the coast were rare but special. She would collect seashells and press them into a small tin box she kept under her bed. No one could have imagined that decades later, the sea would be tied to her name in a very different way. She met her future husband in her early 20s. He was charming, confident, outgoing in ways she wasn't. Friends say he pursued her persistently. Flowers, phone calls, showing up after work just to walk her home. They married within 2 years. At first, their life looked picture perfect. Small house, fresh paint, backyard swing set that would come later. Neighbors described them as normal. No loud fights, no police visits, no obvious cracks. But as years passed, the marriage shifted, as many do. Money became tight, work hours grew longer, and friends would later admit they sometimes sensed tension beneath the surface. Not explosive, just quiet strain. Then came the children. First, a daughter. Then, 2 years later, a son. She poured herself into motherhood completely. Her daughter was sensitive and artistic, always drawing pictures for her mother and taping them to the refrigerator. Her son was energetic, curious, the kind of child who asked endless questions about how things worked. Every morning, She woke before sunrise, packed lunches, brushed hair, checked homework. She walked them to the bus stop whenever she could. Other parents remember her waving until the bus disappeared around the corner. One neighbor later said, "You could tell those kids were her whole world." And that's what makes what happened next so difficult to understand. Because by all accounts, she would never have left them willingly. She worked part-time at a local office, bookkeeping and clerical tasks. It wasn't glamorous, but she liked the routine. Numbers made sense, spreadsheets balanced, files had order. Unlike life, her co-workers described her as dependable, always on time, never dramatic, private, but kind. She didn't overshare, but in the months before she disappeared, one co-worker remembered something subtle. She seemed distracted, like her mind was somewhere else. When asked if everything was okay at home, she reportedly smiled and said, "Just tired." Was she? Or was there something she wasn't saying? She wasn't reckless. She wasn't impulsive. She didn't drink heavily. She didn't disappear for days. She didn't talk about running away. She kept a small journal, mostly grocery lists and reminders. Nothing emotional, nothing revealing. To most people, she was steady, grounded, but even the steadiest people carry private burdens. And sometimes, the people who seem the strongest are the ones who struggle silently. The question investigators would later ask again and again was simple. Was there something beneath her calm exterior that no one saw? In early 1985, small details began to surface. A missed appointment, a tense phone call overheard by a neighbor, a long walk alone near the seafront. At the time, they meant nothing. But in hindsight, they feel different. Because within weeks, she would vanish, and the woman who had built her life around routine, family, and quiet stability would become the center of a mystery no one could solve. Before she was a case file. Before she was a body found at the water's edge. She was a mother, a wife, a daughter, and someone, somewhere, knows what happened to her. When officers first responded, they weren't looking at a homicide. They were looking at what they believed might be a voluntary disappearance. In 1985, it was common for investigators to initially consider marital stress, financial issues, a possible affair, mental health struggles. Detectives examined her personal life before they treated the scene as a crime. Was there an argument before she vanished? Signs she had packed anything? Withdrawals from bank accounts? A note left behind? But early evidence complicated that theory. Her purse was still inside the house. Her identification was untouched. No clothes appeared to be missing. Her children's lunches were prepared for the next day. That's not typical of someone planning to leave permanently. Police asked, did she have access to cash? Did she tell anyone she was leaving? Did she contact friends? No confirmed goodbye. No ticket purchases. No bank withdrawals. Within 48 hours, the idea that she simply walked away began to lose weight. There were no obvious signs of forced entry, no overturned furniture, no blood. But the absence of violence doesn't mean the absence of a crime. Investigators considered domestic violence, a known acquaintance, someone who lured her out, a staged disappearance. If her car remained, did she leave with someone voluntarily? Was she picked up? Did something happen close to home? The longer she stayed missing, the more detectives shifted from missing person to possible abduction. As the investigation unfolded, detectives focused on 3 individuals who seemed to have possible connections to the disappearance. Each had a reason to draw suspicion, but as the case developed, none would remain in the spotlight for long. The first suspect was a neighbor known to have a tense relationship with the missing mother. There had been reported arguments over property boundaries, and some witnesses claimed to see him near her house the day she disappeared. Police interviewed him multiple times. Alibi checked. He was reportedly at work during the disappearance. No forensic evidence linked him to the crime scene. Within weeks, detectives ruled him out. There was simply no concrete evidence tying him to her vanishing. The second suspect was an acquaintance with a criminal record, someone law enforcement believed could be involved in a violent encounter. He lived in the same area and was known to have conflicts with other locals. Police searched his home and vehicles. Polygraph administered. Witness statements contradicted any claim of involvement. Despite initial concern, investigators concluded he had no connection to her disappearance. He was officially removed from the suspect list. The third person was a transient seen near the seafront around the time the mother disappeared. His presence in the area raised questions, particularly after searches in nearby parks and beaches came up empty. Interviewed by police, no confession, no physical evidence. Witnesses could not positively identify him. Though he initially appeared to be a strong lead, investigators ultimately ruled him out, leaving the case without any active suspects. 3 potential leads, 3 possible answers, and yet each trail ended in a dead end. With no suspects remaining, the case grew colder by the day, leaving family, detectives, and the community searching for answers in the shadows. With no suspects left and no new leads, the investigation would linger in uncertainty until 12 years later, when the seafront revealed the truth. 12 years had passed. The mother who disappeared in 1985 had been missing for over a decade. Then, at the seafront, her remains were finally discovered. What investigators found would shock even seasoned detectives. The body was partially preserved, but identification was quickly confirmed through dental records and personal belongings. For 12 years, the ocean had kept it secret, until now. Police recovered her clothing, jewelry, and personal items that had remained intact. Critical evidence for forensic analysis. The autopsy revealed a grim truth. The cause of death was 2 fresh gunshot wounds to the head. These wounds were consistent with execution-style killings, leaving no doubt that foul play had been involved. There were no defensive wounds, suggesting she was likely incapacitated or caught by surprise. The precision of the gunshot wounds pointed to a perpetrator who knew exactly what they were doing. This discovery transformed the case. What had begun as a mysterious disappearance was now clearly a homicide. Detectives had to reevaluate the original investigation, reopening questions about suspects, motives, and missed leads from 12 years prior. The 3 suspects initially considered and later ruled out were re-examined in light of this new information. DNA testing, ballistics, and other forensic methods now provided avenues that were unavailable in 1985. Finding her remains was heartbreaking, but it gave us the most important clue of all, how she died. Suddenly, we were no longer looking for a missing person. We were hunting for a killer. With the autopsy complete, the investigation took a sharp turn. But uncovering the identity of the killer and the motive would prove far more difficult than anyone imagined. Truth or conspiracy?